Ambassador Naeh, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a good week, I think, for Israel-UAE relations. Not only are we having this conference, but we had the double taxation agreement, and the Israeli Economics Ministry announced that they're opening a trade office in Abu Dhabi. How do you assess things? You know, are ties coming along the way you expected?
It's not a matter of speed or expectations and how fast we're going this week and how fast we'll go next week. I'm not comparing. We have a job to do. When I was asked to take this job, I was tasked with building an embassy and develop relationships, which we do. I think that our job now is to really structure the relationships and to build proper channels of dialogue. I work a lot on the G2G level, and that is the agreements that you mentioned. There are more in the pipelines, and I hope that in the next few days we'll be able to see more agreement signed, ratified, and come into force. And on the B2B level, the third level, the P2P, people-to-people level, that happened immediately, and we saw the very high level of enthusiasm, and that really happened fast.
You know, a lot of Emiratis who I spoke to this week expressed concern about the political situation in Israel, and I know you don't comment on politics, but they thought maybe things would change if Netanyahu is not prime minister anymore, and I thought that at the core, the vast majority of Israelis are happy about this happening, and I guess want to hear your take on whether the kind of stability these ties can expect.
I think the relationships between Israel and the UAE are consensual in Israel. It doesn't matter which government, who is the prime minister or who is the foreign minister. Those relationships have got very wide support in Israel. And we saw it. The people voted with their legs within a very short time. I mean, just December, we had 85,000 Israelis visiting Dubai, which was the only one open at that time. I think 85,000 people is a very big sample from which to deduct that the Israelis support the peace process and would like to continue to develop it further.
So you were talking about the growing business ties between Israel and the UAE, and that, of course, is what this conference is about. What's something that you're sort of excited about on the economic front?
What excites me is, again, my job excites me. To see things happen, to see Israeli companies come here, to see joint ventures, to see Israelis come here and come together with Emirati companies and build something together. There is a lot that one of the speakers before me, I don't remember who, I think it was Tariq El-Hindi, who said, we have a lot to learn from you, you have a lot to learn from us, and the key word here is sharing, is cooperating, and that's what excites me the most.
So when you're talking about sharing, cooperating, are there any sort of interesting experiences that you can share with us about sort of being here and representing Israel in a time when it's such a new thing?
I'll share with you two things that really kind of stuck in my memory. One is when I first came here and I went to my first meeting with an Emirati official in a cafe, and people realized that I am who I am, an Israeli official, and people bought cakes and just sent it to the table.
Wow.
You know, out of happiness, and came to our table to greet me and to say how happy they are that I'm here. It's not that they knew me, but the very happening of having a first Israeli official in town was seemingly exciting for them. And the second one was actually during the campaign in Gaza, where I sat in a salon, in an Emirati salon, and it wasn't about trying to persuade anybody about each other's narrative. It was about me hearing younger Emirati than me saying that for the first time they have a chance to hear directly the other side. And I think this is what it is all about. It's about listening. It's not about always agreeing with each other, but it's at least having a chance to listen to each other. And I think these two things really stuck into my mind, the excitement of actually arriving here and understanding what it means.
Your story about being in that salon during the Gaza conflict, I think it shows, and the news of the past week or so on UAE-Israel ties shows sort of that these ties have already withstood its first major challenge.
I think that these relationships will withstand any challenge, because I think it really comes from both countries' interests. And enjoy support. They're based on long-term vision, on strategic needs. And yes, we are continuing. We are, as you said, we just signed an economic agreement. We're going to sign more agreements. Israeli companies signed joint venture agreements, more to be signed in the coming few weeks. So, yes.
What do you think is next for UAE-Israel relations?
There's not one specific thing that I'd say this is the next stop. It's really about continuing to lay the foundations, and that will allow soon for the private sector to flourish and to cooperate. We need that. We probably will see more Israelis coming here. I'm told that the summer is very hot here. I'm really looking forward to see the Israelis who come here to kind of try to beat the elements in the summer here. And I'm sure that more left to be seen will come during the winter. And I think that's the best sign of what we are building here. That Israelis can come here and Emiratis to go to Israel. And I know that a lot of my Emirati friends can't wait to go to Israel, for Israel to open the borders and to lift the COVID restrictions and go to Israel. And I think this meeting of Israel, Emiratis meeting Israelis in Israel, will be the next stage, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm really looking forward on a personal level to welcome them back here and hear from them the first impressions from visiting Israel, visiting Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, the Galilee. I don't think that they'll be missing or feel a special need to visit the Israeli desert, but to hear what they think about Israel.
You know, just to finish up, you and I talked during Pesach, and you spoke, and I wrote about in the paper, really lovely things about the Pesach holiday that you had here, and I just think that people would be really interested in hearing about it, because I think that the embassy did such an interesting thing.
Well, I must admit the idea wasn't mine, but I was happy to tag along. The idea was my dear colleagues, Ambassador Grossman's idea, to take the whole bunch of us, Israelis and Emiratis and others, to the middle of the desert and to celebrate Pesach, Passover in a very traditional way, sitting on pillows, as they did 2,000 years ago. And to celebrate it outside Abu Dhabi. And it was a unique experience because it wasn't just us, Jews, Israelis, it was our Emirati friends who were with us. So the whole thing was kind of surreal, but exciting. And I think that was probably the most moving and exciting Passover nights that I had. And I'm 58 years old in September, so that's quite a lot to compare to.
What kind of responses were you getting from Emiratis to the Seder Pesach traditions?
Curiosity. I think that what I find here, and I think it's working both ways, is and one word with which I will describe the first phase at least is curiosity. There's a lot of curiosity. We are curious. We are learning. And I think what I see with a lot of Emiratis and the questions that I'm asked about Pesach and about Judaism, about Israel, is curiosity. People want to know. People want to learn about each other. People are open. And that's one thing that impressed me the most here in the United Arab Emirates. Openness, tolerance. People are, and I'm trying to use a kind of an oxymoron in one sentence, people are quite agnostic about one's religion.
All right, well...
In terms of, there is no priority. You're Jewish, I'm interested, it's interesting. Or you're Hindu, or you're Baha'i, or, people are open. And it's refreshing in a region, and not just in a region, to see it.
All right, well, thank you so much, and continue working to expand and strengthen the ties between these countries. It's very exciting.
Thank you. Thank the Jerusalem Post and the Khaleej Times, and thank you to our Emirati hosts for allowing us to work here and promote and progress our relationships. We are really looking forward to continue to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.